Hey, what's up guys, Tactiholics here, and today we're talking about shooting with gloves on. So it's really a pretty simple concept, and it kind of applies to some people in different ways. Obviously, if you live in a climate where you have a white winter wasteland, such as we do here in Wisconsin, you're going to wear gloves some of the times. Also, if you're law enforcement or active military, there's certain times where you're required to wear full-fingered gloves. And what that's going to do is have potentially a very extreme impact on your dexterity as well as your feeling on a weapon system. Generally, I opt to go with something thin like a mechanic's glove. They make a bunch of tactical gloves, tactical series gloves and stuff like that. Obviously, there's a lot of great tactical glove companies out there, but typically I run with mechanic's gloves because they're thin enough that they still allow you to get a reasonable amount of feel on the controls of the gun, on the trigger of the gun, magazine release, the safety selector, stuff like that. Currently, I'm wearing a tactical glove with carbon knuckles, and the reason I have these on is because they're a little bit thicker, so it retains a little bit more warmth for my hands, my fingertips, while I'm out here in the cold shooting. And the knuckles give my hands some added protection if I happen to bang my hands into something or someone. A big thing that you're going to notice is, first and foremost, at least with me and this thickness of gloves, is my ability to get onto the trigger. So you get a really nice, good high grip on the gun, and it can become kind of difficult to get that finger onto the trigger depending on the gun that you're shooting. Certainly with an AR-15, I like to look for a trigger guard that's oversized to accommodate for gloves for cold weather shooting. It makes it a little bit easier to get your finger on the bang switch. But with my SIG 229 that's in my holster right now, I am having a little bit of trouble coming up and getting my finger onto the trigger as my support hand meets the frame of the gun. It's really kind of getting crowded as far as space goes to get my finger on that trigger. The second thing you might run into is your ability to feel the trigger reset and just work the trigger quite as accurately and precisely as you would without gloves on. Again, that loss of dexterity, and certainly these particular gloves have a extra padding on the pointer finger, and that really numbs up my finger and the trigger feel underneath my finger. So working the trigger as smoothly, as rapidly, and as precisely as I would without gloves on is something that's not going to happen either. Another potential issue is the magazine release. Depending on the size and the location of your magazine release, getting that thumb over to engage the magazine release is potentially going to be an issue, but certainly when talking about magazines, retrieving your second magazine is going to be a little bit more numb feeling, and certainly inserting it into the gun and coming over the slide and charging that next bullet is going to be something that you're going to want to practice with. So my recommendation to you is, I oftentimes see people that come into ranges and shoot, and it's a 70-degree indoor range, or they'll be shooting outdoors in the summertime and they're always wearing gloves. Now, like I said before, I understand that certain law enforcement military groups are required to wear full-fingered gloves all the time, but we as concealed carry civilians don't wear gloves all the time. You're certainly going to understand what it's like to shoot with gloves on with your concealed carry firearm, but I don't think that we should always be shooting with gloves on. I think even if you do fall into that law enforcement and military role, you should still train without shooting gloves on. And my philosophy with gloves is ultimately the same as lasers. A laser is a great option for sighting on a handgun or a rifle for that matter, but oftentimes I see it become a crutch, and I see people only focusing on training with that laser. Just like oftentimes I see people that only train with gloves on, or people that never train with gloves on. So you want to consider your environment, consider your lifestyle and your work needs, and train appropriately with and without proper handwear. Another big thing that I noticed is currently I'm running an inside the waistband Pitbull tactical holster with my SIG 229 in there, and simply getting my concealment garments out of the way and getting a good purchase on the gun when I'm coming into the holster. You want to establish as good of a grip on the gun as you can when you retrieve the gun from the holster without making any adjustments, hopefully, when you're presenting the gun to the target. And certainly retrieving the firearm from an inside the waistband holster under concealment garments with gloves on is going to become a numb process as well, and you're certainly going to want to examine the speed in which you can do it as well as the efficiency in which you can do it. So that breaks it down for shooting with gloves on, guys. Rifle, pistol, shotgun, you're going to have some adjustments to make when you're shooting with gloves on. So understand the context that you're using the gloves for, and train in a way that you can become efficient and stay proficient in functioning your firearms and your weapon systems with or without gloves on. We'll see you all next time, and we never quit.